Wax's podcast, talking that shit about uninteresting facts. Wax's podcast, listen to it every Wednesday.
Hey. Oh, fuck. Just cleaning my house, kinda, dropping shit. Welcome to Wax's podcast. It is episode 73. I'm surprised I even sound as peppy. Hold the fuck up. Hold up. I got cords and wires and bears. Oh my, I got cords and wires tangled up. What's the difference between a cord and a wire? I don't know. That sounded like it was some kind of riddle that was going to have a funny answer, but it didn't. I just was really wondering in that time, in that second that I said that. That wasn't planned. I wasn't actually wondering what the difference was, but I believe I had a cord. It was intertangled. Is that even a word? Intertwined and tangled with a wire, and I was wondering what the difference was. I can tell what it is, but I don't really know. Anyway, the reason I'm probably rambling right now, as you can even tell by what I just did with that throat clear, I'm really sick, man. I woke up feeling really bad. Right there, the brand new computer that I have that's supposed to be the best computer that Apple makes with the greatest software. It couldn't even handle me talking into a microphone. It had a fucking overload. I don't understand Pro Tools. I don't understand computers. It shit pisses me off. But anyway, I digress and I shall continue. I am sick. I started really feeling it this morning. I started feeling it yesterday. I had this weird shit. I thought maybe it was food. I guess maybe it still is fucking food poisoning. I got all this. I mean, I've been eating food, so it's possible. Thought maybe it was food poisoning because yesterday I had this feeling in my stomach. I was burping and farting a lot. And whenever I would burp, it just felt... Just talking about burping made me had to burp. That was weird. Just felt kind of like not a usual burp. It felt like a sickly burp. And yeah, so that's your update on my health. My health is not up to 100%. My health is probably at about 60% right now. I don't know how to give my health a percentage rating because even with me being not sick, I don't live the healthiest lifestyle anyway. So I'm probably just already at a 70 as it is. So if you take that 70 and put it at half, then I'm at about 35% right now. So if this podcast is less interesting or less funny than my normal podcast, which are arguably not that interesting and funny anyway, considering my life and what I've been up to recently, which is not much at all, then forgive me. Or don't. And hit stop. Oh, I'm dropping shit already. Hit stop. Hit unsubscribe. Do you even subscribe? Yeah, you can subscribe to this. You can subscribe to this podcast on iTunes. I think people do that. So, yeah, you don't have to listen, you know? So what else is going on? I went to the farmer's market yesterday. The farmer's market. That's how you can tell you're getting old and kind of boring, is when you go to the farmer's market by yourself. And actually, it's probably one of the most fun times of your week. I had a really good time over there. All the old people, just like, there was like a little kind of like Grateful Dead old people cover band playing there at 10 a.m. So like all kinds of produce you could get, which I did get some. I got several different varieties of peppers. I got an onion, some tomatoes, some farm fresh eggs. I even got a block of fancy cheese that some weirdo guy makes himself. I don't know. Do you make cheese? I guess. Produces? Churns? I don't know. How would you describe that? Some guy makes his own cheese. And he was a really weird, creepy guy. But there was something about his creepiness that made me think, you know what? This guy probably makes some pretty good cheese. And he gave me some free samples. And lo and behold, I was correct. Creepy cheese guy had some of the best cheese I've ever tasted. So I bought a block of that. And that's probably why I got food poisoning, because I made an omelet yesterday with a bunch of that cheese, some onions, got a big-ass organic avocado. Maybe I'm sick because my body's not used to eating organic foods that actually just got out of the soil. Usually it has to be just bread in a box for my body to handle it. That's not true. I've been eating relatively healthy recently, but I don't know. Maybe I'm in luck. Maybe with all the organic products that I purchased yesterday, my sickness will go away fast because the nutrients in the peppers and fresh eggs will chase away the Ebola, and I will no longer have it. I'm not going to talk about Ebola. I already talked about that too much. Let's just put it this way. Stop being scared of Ebola. It's not that big of a fucking deal. It's like two people have it, you know? You have more chance of getting struck by lightning like 5 times than getting that as of now. So stop worrying about Ebola. What else did I want to talk about? It's been so long since I did the last podcast that so many things have happened to me. I will say this. As far as rap music is concerned, I keep dwelling on the fact that I'm old, but I just can't help it. Recently, I've just been kind of going through a change in my life, right? I've just been like really understanding what it means to kind of stop being a child. And one of those things is, you know, and this is part of this was from last week. I watched all the somebody tweeted that the BET Awards had their ciphers, and I was on that shit last year. Say what you will about my verse, I thought I did a good job, and I watched it this year. I think first of all, I think the BET ciphers is not a big deal anymore. It used to be a big thing. Like big names would be in every one. You'd have Busta Rhymes and Ludacris and Eminem and Black Thought and all these people. And now I think they probably only had a couple quote unquote celebrities in the ciphers, and it's mostly like young or new guys or like niche people you might never heard of. And maybe that's just a reflection of how like the music industry is changing, you know, because of the internet and Spotify and YouTube and just the way that shit works. There's just this wide open lane for people who are a little bit known. You know what I mean? I'd be one of those people. Like last year when I was on there, that's kind of like what I represented. But when I watched it, and I had just listened to a bunch of hip hop music, new hip hop, and then I watched all these ciphers, and I realized like I really don't give a fuck about like the dumb materialism in hip hop anymore, or in society in general, really, because it's not that much different between a rapper and like a fucking Wall Street banker as far as what they want out of life and what their tastes are. I just remember one dude on the cypher was like, God, I'm going to fuck this up, but I don't care. Just somebody, if he didn't say this, somebody would have said it. He was like, ever since I was a kid, I dreamed of having a Benz and Gucci slippers or something like that. Some shit like that. And I'm just like, I literally stood up out of my chair and put my headphones down and said to myself out loud, I really don't give a fuck. Like, I really have reached the point where I just don't fucking care, man. Like, how can I care about that? How can I be listening to what you're saying and you tell me you want a fucking pair of Gucci slippers and that was your dream and I'm supposed to fucking care that you fulfilled it? How am I supposed to fucking care about that? I'm officially old enough that I just don't give a fuck. It doesn't even the violent shit doesn't even bother me as much, you know? But this fucking world we live in, man, this fucking, I'm starting to just kind of be like the guy, and I think I've been like this for a while, but now I'm like officially old, angry guy when it comes to this. But I'm like way outside of the matrix mentally, you know? I just see all the bullshit that people care about. I think the reason that I'm able to be outside of it too is because I've had like zero money, and then after I got a record deal and shit, I had a lot of money, and I realized that it's kind of bullshit. I realize it doesn't make you happy. Maybe for people that are dumb, it does. You know, maybe it's just like actually in the movie The Matrix when the guy, ignorance is bliss. The guy loves fucking steak. I love steak. There's a lot of materialistic shit and pleasures of life shit that I like, you know? But I really believe you have to be kind of dumb for a pair of Gucci slippers to make you actually happy inside of your fucking soul. And even if that's not true, it's my truth now, you know? And I walk up and down the street. I live in an area here in Venice where there's a lot of rich people. There's a lot of kind of flashy people here and there. In Los Angeles in general, it's all over the fucking place. I see it with women that I've known, you know? Just want the fucking car with the pretty thing on it, and I just can't fucking do it anymore, man. I can't I can't sit around and act like I give a fuck, you know? I don't know. It's not like anybody cares whether or not I give a fuck. But I'm just telling whoever's listening that if you're gonna rap or talk or act or whatever you're doing, and you're telling me that I need some shit like that, I just can't relate. You know, I'm not trying to be judgmental. I guess I guess I am being judgmental in a way. But I just can't relate to the materialistic shit that's going on right now. Sorry if I'm not making sense. My brain is a little cloudy. Like I said, I woke up and I was actually going to go work out today, and I decided not to because I just woke up and I didn't feel like getting out of bed. I'm surprised I'm even doing this podcast. I think it was just the Aleve that made me able to do it. Made me able to just get out of my bed and do this so difficult job that I do, and I don't even do well. I skip it every fucking week of just doing a podcast. I literally am wearing pajama pants right now. I'm wearing no shirt, Budweiser pajama pants, and camouflage Vans flip-flops. That's what I'm wearing right now. And I'm over here, and I'm the one making fun of Gucci slippers. I'm the fucking worst. I'll tell you right now, I'm a fucking hypocrite. I'm wearing camouflage Vans sneakers and Budweiser pajama pants as I say this. So you can fucking take that how you will, how you want. How do you want it? How do you feel growing up as I'm not going to finish that. You know what I mean? But you know how it goes. Tupac Shakur, ladies and gentlemen. Speaking of Tupac, I have no transition that has anything to do with him. I have no... All right, so I made some kind of rant about materialism in hip-hop and how I can't relate to it. I don't really have anything else to say. What else is going on? I'm working on music, y'all. Actually starting today. Kind of sucks that I'm sick, man. I was really excited because me and my boy Davey are moving into our studio this week. Can't remember if I said it I must have said it on the last podcast, but we signed a lease to a studio spot, and it was cool because it was brand new. So we were in there, and they had to build it out. Like, we got a vocal booth, we got all soundproof walls. We're gonna buy a desk, gonna have fucking badass speakers, be loud as fuck, all day, every day. So starting actually tonight we go get the keys and we can move in. So I'm actually really excited about that. I'm so excited about that I was upset that I was sick. Because I know, the last thing you want to do when you're sick is move a bunch of shit in a truck to some location, you know? And I'm going to have to do that. I'm going to have to, I guess, rent a truck. I guess I'm looking at my couch now and I'm wondering, do I have to rent a truck? And I know this is really exciting for the podcast, but I think I will have to rent a truck. It's a shame because it's just for one couch. Like everything else, I think we could fit in a car. But got to buy a desk. Got to get some kind of desk. Because the shit that I have right now is fucked up. Like the shit that I have my computer on and on my speakers and all that. It's just some table that's all bent and warped. So if we're going to be professional, we got to be professional. We got to get professional equipment. You know, if you're trying to get a job, you go in there looking the part. But yeah, so the good news is even before moving in on this, I've been working on a lot of music. I think a lot of it's going to turn out to be really good. EOM's album is going to be extremely good. You should definitely check that out whenever that comes out. What else? I don't know. Working, man. Working. Once I get in the studio, my plan is for the next year, and maybe, depending on what happens the first 2 or 3 months once I'm in the studio, I'm going to be in that motherfucker like a chemist, like a lab rat, and just be in there for like 3 months, like nonstop. And depending on what happens after that with my own material and everything, because me and Davey are planning on just writing songs for whatever, too. Like, I'm trying to get into the world of just writing for anything, for movies, for other artists, whatever. I'm just trying to diversify my portfolio, so to speak. But first priority is my own shit, and depending on how my shit turns out, I may or may not tour sometime next year or whatever. But the plan as of right now is to just be in this fucking studio for a year, working my ass off, and then look up after that year and see what I got, and see if we've changed the world. See if we've changed the world with our melodies and lyrics, you know? It's actually kind of tough being a, if you write songs after, especially if you're, especially like writing songs for other people or whatever. I haven't had any success with that at all. But it's really interesting. Like, a song is really just 3 minutes of noise. You hit play, and like 3 or 4 minutes, some fucking noise happens. You know. If you think, the more and more you do it, the more like abstract it becomes. You know. The more you think about it, I think probably the worse you become at it, honestly. The best way to do it is to not think at all. But after you do the shit for years and years and years and years and years, it's kind of hard not to just overthink sometimes, especially when you're doing the shit when you're writing a song for the purpose of writing a good song, you know? With my own shit, with my own music, I don't really think about it like that. I just kind of go with what I feel, you know? But when it comes to just like writing for this purpose of writing a good song, it becomes so abstract, and like you start to think too much about how other people listen to it. I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. Oh, it's a nice day out here in Venice. I live way on the west side of Los Angeles, and the studio is pretty goddamn far away. It's in Burbank, and anybody who knows the LA area knows that commuting from Venice to Burbank every day is going to fucking suck. So for the first month we're in the studio, I'm going to see how it is with this commute. Because not only is my apartment in Venice way too expensive already, but if you add in the gas cost of driving back and forth every day, that's a real expense right there. So after a month, I'll probably decide maybe I'll move back up to the valley. See how that goes. But, yeah, I don't really have anything else to say this week. I wish that I wasn't so clouded, you know. But I am. So, whatever that was. Yeah, I officially am out of shit to say. I know in past podcasts I've run out of shit to say and kind of got back on board. But with the way that I feel today, and with the fact that right now I'm even like, after talking about what I have to do today, in the back of my mind, I'm thinking about the future. I'm not in the moment right now, y'all. I'm not in the moment. I'm thinking about later today. I'm thinking about IKEA. I'm thinking about computer desks. And I'm not fully in the moment as far as this podcast is concerned. And it's good to be fully in the moment if you're just going to talk off the top of your head. And I'm not there. I'm not fucking there. I'm looking around my house. It's like, when your creativity is fucking up. And anybody out there listening to this, as if you're a rapper or if you're a songwriter or a poet or an artist, whatever you do, it's time to just take a break when like you're writing and you're just looking around your room at shit. You're like, frying pan, I'm dying, man. Oh, trash can. You just start thinking of shit that rhymes while looking at your room. Yeah, any rapper, I think, can relate to that. And that's kind of where I'm at right now as far as this podcast. Should I talk about my bicycle? Because that's what I'm looking at. I actually rode the motherfucker yesterday. Took a little bike ride yesterday, y'all, and if I move out of Venice, I'm going to miss it. I'm going to miss taking these bike rides. Scenic. Oh, damn, dude, my stomach's fucked up. Ugh. I might vomit today. I might vomit. And I haven't even eaten. You know what? That's probably why my stomach's fucked up, because I haven't eaten today, and I ate those leaves. Leaves. Ask Jeeves. Whatever happened to Ask Jeeves? I don't know. Why don't you ask Jeeves? What in the fuck, man? All right. Let's get to some shout-outs and shit. Yes. This is definitely the worst podcast I've ever done. But let's change that. Let's go from worst to best. Let's make these shout-outs and questions the best shout-outs and questions section of Wax's podcast that's ever happened. Okay. Positive reinforcement. Let's give some shout-outs to Leopard Duke. JC from Manitoba. Pharaoh the Earthworm. By the way, for Pharaoh the Earthworm, please watch his video, Definition of a Rap Flow. Check out that video. This shit is dope. Give it some positive comments, y'all. Give it some views and comments. Give him love, man. Pharaoh the Earthworm is a big fan, loyal podcast listener, and he's in the contest sponsored by R.A. the Rugged Man, which is called Definition of a Rap Flow. I didn't even know about this contest until he emailed me about it. But that's, I think it's F-E-R-A-L, the Earthworm. Definition of a Rap Flow. Check that shit out on YouTube. All right. Mad Myers. As always. Wow. Oh, fuck. Somebody texted me. That's... All right. Trevor R. Trevor R. recommends House Slippers, which is an album by Joell Ortiz. I have not heard that. Joell Ortiz is a very good rapper. Joell Ortiz is kind of... Joell Ortiz is really fucking... and really a lot of the Slaughterhouse dudes are like this. Royce the 5'9" is even probably a better example of this. Like, they're really, really good rappers... But, like, I don't necessarily, like, want to know that. God, I'm sounding old and fucking, like, an asshole on this podcast. But I don't necessarily, like, I should listen to his album. I should listen to House Slippers by Joell Ortiz. But, like, so far, everything that I've heard from him, it's been good. But, like, it doesn't make me interested in him. Like, when you listen to Kanye, like, you're interested in him and what he has to say. It's not just about the way he flips words and the metaphors and shit like that. Whereas for Joell Ortiz and Royce the 5'9", it's kind of like I just want to hear him like rip a guest verse. I don't know if I want to listen to a whole album by Joell Ortiz. That being said, it's recommended by Trevor R. So I think as a group we should do like I feel like there's actually people that can talk back to me, but I wish we could do like an Oprah's book club, and every week everybody that listens to the podcast has to listen to an album and then talk about it as a group. But the problem is you guys don't have microphones and abilities to talk to me right now and all that bullshit. So that will never happen. So scratch all that. Raul Justice is doing well. Edon H. And you know what happened to Edon H, y'all? I'm a little behind on the emails, obviously. So September was supposed to be Sober September. And if you remember from a past podcast, Edon H, since he's not a big drinker, was going to instead do the September not jerking off. He was going to not jerk off for the month of September. And guess what? He failed, shockingly. Jen G, TJL, and TJL, big listener of the podcast, always hits me up. He recommends The Wild and Wonderful Whites of West Virginia. And I've actually seen that. That's a documentary about some crazy people that live in West Virginia. Redneck type of people. Family that like shoots and stabs each other over crystal meth and shit like that. So I would recommend that as well. If anybody out there has ever been to West Virginia, or really Kentucky as well for that matter, it's like really being in another country. It feels like it's not even America. Like there's parts of West Virginia where it's fucking lawless. My old band used to do shows there. There was a campground called Sunshine Daydreams. It was like, this was back when people would go to like hippie festivals, like jam band shit, with Grateful Dead cover bands and Fish cover bands and bands that sounded like the Grateful Dead or Fish, and just noodly funk bands. And my band used to always we used to always do shows like that at this place in West Virginia, and there's just some characters up there. Like when you're almost to the fucking campgrounds, like you're just looking around at like the surroundings and the houses people live in, the people that are standing out in their yards, you're like, God damn, like I can't believe these people vote in the same presidential election. This just doesn't even seem like the same country. It's weird, man. I don't know what to tell you. I just did tell you that. Also, I'll never forget a show we had in the capital of West Virginia, Charleston, yeah, which is a fucking weird place too, at a place called the Empty Glass. If any of you out there have ever been to the Empty Glass in Charleston, West Virginia, you know there's some characters that hang out there, but what you may not know is that if you're a band and you play at that venue, granted, I don't even know if the venue still exists, but when it existed and when my band played there, they have... The crowd was funny as shit. It was just all drunk people that were just like, what the fuck y'all doing? And above the venue, the second floor, there's a little quote-unquote apartment, which is really like if you took a studio apartment and just poured a bunch of disgusting shit in it, threw a mattress or two on the ground, literally tossed some syringes here and there, and said, hey, band, this is where you sleep after you play our gig. That's where we stayed after we played there. It was like a band suite. So not only was it fucked up to begin with, but you knew that every night it was stayed in by a different band. And we had an interesting night that night once the mushrooms were thrown into the mix as well, but I won't go too far beyond that. Rod from Guam. Rod, coming at you all the way out from the beautiful island, which is Guam. I'd like to check that place out one day. I think that Rod actually moved to California, if I remember from the email he sent me, but he's originally from Guam. Garrett G. Mike the electrician. And Mike sent me some shirts, and I'd like to thank you officially on the podcast, Mike. The shirts are dope, and I really appreciate it. Grant C. RO2S. If you remember the last podcast, I was saying that RO2S had a robot name and I was using a robot voice. Well, RO2S emailed me back to let me know, and you know as well, that RO2S is because his name is Ross, and the 2 is actually double. So it's really ROSS. His SoundCloud is soundcloud.com/Ross_Biggs with 2 G's. So I'm sorry about pronouncing your name like that, RO2S, but if you continue to email me, I will never pronounce it like the way that you want me, because I haven't programmed. My program cannot be deleted. I will always pronounce your name RO2S. I can't delete the program at this point and call you ROSS or whatever the fuck you want to be called. Brian J, a.k.a. BJ. Let's get into these emails. Hey, Wax, I'm glad that you finally caught up on the emails. I've had email blue balls since the last email I wrote was in August 2013, 20 years ago by the time you read this. And I didn't want to add more emails to the pile. By the way, this is from Muhammad M. Anyways, over the past few emails, I've asked you a couple questions on how to improve my rapping skills. And now I've come to face it. I can't rap for shit. I've improved since I first started a couple years ago, but by this rate, I won't write anything decent until I'm 60 or some shit. And the song "We Can't All Be Heroes" convinced me that it's good to realize that instead of following a false hope. So here's my question. What are the, quote, dreams, unquote, that you stopped following because you realize you're not built for? And do you think you could have actually achieved those dreams if you tried harder? Also, completely unrelated, when is the Dreamin' video coming out? You mentioned it in January, and it hasn't come out yet. Let's start with that. I don't know if that fucking video will ever come out, man. The dude that's doing the video, good guy, but it's real effects heavy, and it's, I'd put money on it never coming out, you know? The dude's done a lot of work, but it just doesn't get finished. I don't know, man. I don't know what's going on with that. I guess I should hit the dude up, but My pessimism level is at record high as far as that video. The dreams that I stopped following because I realized it was not built for. I'll start with anything athletic. You know, when I was a kid, I loved soccer. I loved basketball. But once you start playing with other people, basketball I knew sooner. And soccer, first of all, it's not like I really wanted to be a professional soccer player. But even when I got to high school and I realized that in order to do it, you had to put in work. Like, to be on the team, you had to like spend like 2 or 3 weeks during the summer practicing and running long-ass 5-mile runs and you know, not being able to do other things that I wanted to do. I realized it wasn't built for that. I realized I just didn't have the dedication to do soccer or basketball or really anything athletic like that. I also wasn't that big or strong. I was really, really skinny when I was a kid. Like me and my brother were like scarily skinny. That'd be a good band name, Scarily Skinny. Yeah, what else? That I remember when my band broke up and I was just thinking, what the fuck am I gonna do with my life? This was in the midst of that time period. It was in the midst of when everybody was refinancing their houses because all these bullshit fake rip people off ass companies were pushing refis and everybody's house was supposedly worth more than what it actually was, which all led to the housing bubble of 2008 and you know, the big the financial crisis of 2008. I had a friend that was making like $50,000 every month refinancing houses, so I got a job with him. And I thought at that time, like, you know, I was super broke back then, and I was like, yeah, I'm gonna do this shit. And then I realized very soon that in order to do that, you got to be a good salesman, first of all, and second, I actually realized that I had some sense of ethics. I actually fucking realized that I gave a shit about not ripping people off and not being a quote unquote hustler, as everybody else that worked there was. I worked at literally one of the most shady businesses of all time, in this place called USA Home Loans. It was in Baltimore, Maryland. I think it was more like Towson, Maryland. And it was just a call center. Like in order to work there, you just had to do this weekend training session, and then it basically just handed you a script. And all right, so there's a big call center. If you don't know what a call center is, just picture a huge room full of cubicles. And everybody's sitting there, and they have a computer which is connected to a phone, and you have a headset. And what this company would do is they would send out literally millions of mailers. So people would go to their mailbox, and they get these things. And this company was called USA Home Loans, and when they got this thing in the mail, it looked like they were getting something from the government, and it looked like the government owed them money. And in order to get your mortgage tax refund, you had to call this number. But really what happened when you call the number is you get to one of the people in the call center, and they try to flip it. They try to flip you into refinancing your house. And, you know, it's one of those numbers games. It's just like the way people talk about hitting on girls or whatever. Like, if you get 100 people, if you send it to 1,000 people, 20 people will call, and one of those people will refinance their house. So, you know, for every 1,000 you send it to, you get one, blah, 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 blah. And it was just the way that you did it was really, really fucked up and really unethical. Every once in a while, there was like a person that the thing actually benefited them, but still, the amount of money that the company made off the refinances was fucked up. And like the part, you know, you tried to kind of not, it was just very, very unethical and very ripping people off. And I realized after a while that I didn't like doing it, and I wasn't good at it, and I was too lazy. I would just sit there and surf the internet, you know. Why did I start talking about that? Oh yeah, so that was a mini dream I had. That dream was all based on money, and this dude I know, my boy Greg, he was like raking in money for a few months there at that company, and I was like, man, that'd really be helpful for me. And you know, it wasn't. What other dreams did I have? I mean, honestly, I dreamt Oh, Jesus. I dreamt about being a professional musician. And around that same time when I got the home loans job, I gave up on it. I just thought that it was too impossible. I thought that to make a living doing music is just, it's just something that back then it seemed a lot more luck-based. Didn't seem like, oh, if you work hard and put in your time, you can do it. It's like back then it was very much more like somebody had to discover you. And I just didn't see that ever happening. It just seemed like impossible. I didn't realize at the time that all the time I had spent was really just practice for something that would come later in my life. But, hey, that's just how it is. And do you think you could have achieved those dreams if you tried harder? Yeah, well, I ended up achieving the dream of the musician thing, and that's because I did try. I moved to L.A., and I made a shitload of YouTube videos, and I was really, for a while there, I was really, really, really dedicated. I worked hard as shit. I wish that I could keep that up, and once I get in the studio, I'm gonna try to keep that up. But yeah, the athletic shit, some people just aren't built for it. Blake Griffin is 6'10", something like that. I mean, what are you gonna do? He's a foot taller than everybody. What the fuck are you gonna do? You gonna block his shot? So thanks, Muhammad M. I appreciate it. Nice email. This one. Hey, Wax. My name is Boots. Parentheses, yes, it's my real name. And I'm from the UK. I am 16 and I started a new college about 3 to 4 weeks ago, and I've spoken to around one person as part of a conversation. I personally don't think this is a problem, but my mum and brother, you didn't have to tell me you're from the UK, you could just use the word mum, and brother think that it is. I usually spend time with my headphones on while studying at college, listening to music and your podcast. Well, I appreciate you listening. Do you think that it is a problem that I basically don't speak to anyone? If you're curious about the name, I decided I wanted to be called Boots at the age of 4 and then got it changed legally at the age of 10. I still don't know for sure why Boots. Hope you're well. All right, first of all, the subject of your name is 1,000,000 times more interesting than the question you actually posed. You started by saying, hey, Wax, my name is Boots. Yes, it's my real name. But then you say at the end that it's your real name if you got it legally changed, but it's not your real name. It's some shit you named yourself. You weren't called Boots by your mom. You called it to yourself. This is really, you must be, you're an interesting cat, man. You decided at the age of 4 that you want to be called Boots and actually went through the trouble of legally changing it at 10. All the while you say, I don't even know why Boots. I mean, how was that conversation like with your mom at age 10 when you're just like, Mom, I want to be Boots. She's like, why do you want to be Boots? I don't know. Ever since I was 4, I've just wanted to be Boots. And how do you convince her with no fucking argument? You have no argument for why. You just want to be it, and you actually convince her to the point where you actually go to wherever you go in the UK to get your name changed. You went there and did it. Then you got the person behind the counter probably saying, oh, you sure you want to do this? He's probably like asking your mom, like, how are you letting this kid be so powerful right now? Can't you just leave him the name you wanted? It's your kid. He's only 10. Can't you just leave it as Brian? Can't you just leave it as Nigel, as you originally named him? Dude, what did you actually ask me, though? You're 16, and you started a new college 3 or 4 weeks ago. Maybe over there's some people call like high school college. For those of you Americans listening that didn't know, if you say in certain countries, college and university, like all in high school, all these words are different. So for some people, college is actually high school, but I think in the UK, college is college. So if you're 16 and you started a new college, first of all, Boots, congratulations to you. You're a pretty smart cookie. I think that you knew goddamn well you wanted to change your name. because you are a pair of boots and you're just kicking the educational system in the ass. These boots are made for stomping, and that's what you'll do. And one of these days, these boots are going to walk all over. Wait, these boots are made for walking, and that's just what they'll do. And one of these days, these boots are going to walk all over the UK. Okay, so you're in the college. You've been there 3 to 4 weeks, and you've only spoken to one person as part of a conversation. Okay. I personally don't think this is a problem, but my mom and brother think it is. I usually spend time with my headphones on, listening to music and podcasts. Do you think that's a problem that I don't talk to anyone? Nah, man, I don't think that's a problem. There's a lot of people out there that are introverted, you know? If you'd rather listen to music and listen to podcasts or whatever you listen to, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I mean, you said you listen to one person, talk to one person. That's pretty good. You know, it's better than none. I will say that, like, it is good to socialize with people when you're 16, man. I think in, like, a lunch, you should find your time in, like, a lunch type of setting where you should talk to some people, man. Maybe get some words in here and there. Maybe talk to some females. Get rejected a bunch of times and just feel bad about yourself in order to start feeling good about yourself. I mean, if you wanted to call yourself Boots at 4 and don't know why and changed it at 10, let's be honest, man, you're probably kind of a weird dude. You're naturally introverted if you have some shit like that you did. So I wouldn't. I mean, dude, be yourself, man. Don't let them tell you that you got to be somebody else. I like to picture your brother. It says your mom and your brother think that you have a problem because you're not social. I like to picture your brother as like the dude that's like 2 years older than you and just like runs shit and like he's like a fucking. I guess he wouldn't be a football quarterback in the UK. He'd be a football, fucking, you know, he'd be a striker. Your brother's like the lead striker on the high school, on the college team. And they have cheerleaders? Do they have, in the UK, if you're in high school and you're like obviously soccer is the big game. Because, you know, I'm wondering if they have cheerleaders for the soccer game like they do at football games and basketball games here. Either way, I would imagine the lead striker, the best player, or maybe even the goalie, I don't know, is messing with all the cheerleader chicks. And I picture that being your brother, like, come on, man, you got to get out there and talk to some people, man. You got to get out there and be social, you know. Go to your homecoming dance. Of course, your brother talks like that. Somehow your brother talks like a fucking American from an 80s high school movie. God, I'm sorry if I'm burping and farting and shit like that, dude. I have this weird sickness, like I keep saying. I got like a weird gaseous, like, you know the kind of gas that kind of like feels like something's inside of your stomach? Like if you picture like a little small alien and he's inside of your stomach, but he puts his fist, he's looking forward and he puts his fist onto your stomach and he doesn't punch outwardly. He just like puts his fist on it and like slowly moves it outwardly every once in a while. And just like, that's how I feel here and there right now. Hopefully I'll get better. All right, another question. Hey, Wax. I live in L.A. and I am an aspiring artist, singer, songwriter, and I rap. That's shocking. That's weird that you would live in L.A. and do that. I have a music partner who makes beats. This is from Grant L., by the way. Hey, Wax, I live in L.A. and I'm an aspiring artist. Parentheses, singer, songwriter, and I rap. Sounds like somebody we all know. Hey, I have a music partner who makes beats and I do the songwriting, kind of like you and EOM. We have a pretty solid catalog of unfinished songs. And the reason they're unfinished is because everything that I record is off the top. The way our sessions go is usually we come up with the best beat, then I freestyle on it. Keep what I like and change what I don't, but I never write. I've tried to sit down and write, but I just don't have the same feel and inspiration as I do when I'm in the moment and the written material comes off different. Do you have any advice on how I can finish these songs? And can you share your songwriting process? P.S. I'm a huge fan. And I appreciate that, Grant. I'm a little confused because you say that he has the beat and you freestyle on it, and that's the way that you write. Why don't you just finish the song that way? Where's the part that's unfinished? If you freestyle, then you change, then you do, blah, blah, blah. Like a lot of people, some people don't write. I don't know. I don't know how to do it that way. I might not write down a verse and just kind of memorize it and then just record it. I might do that every once in a while, but to me, it's actually helpful to write stuff down. I don't know how to suggest it to you. I think that if you have to freestyle and you don't have the same feel and passion when you're in the moment, and written material comes off different, I guess there's a lot of people that happens to. I can't relate to that. I really can't relate to that so much. I understand that you have in the moment, if you're really into the beat and you're really into freestyle, and there might be an emotion that comes out of you that you can't get when you just are reading something off a piece of paper. But for me, like, I feel like if I write something down and I feel like I'm really saying something good, I actually get into it. If I know, if I like when I did the YouTube videos like Red and stuff like that, I didn't freestyle those. I knew what I was gonna say, and it got like I knew that I was about to say some real ass shit. So I got into it, So I can't really relate to that style of songwriting. My style of songwriting is different every time, man. A lot of times I'll sit down at a guitar and just start from nothing and something will happen. Sometimes I'll just be walking down the street and a chorus will come to me. I not as much anymore, but I used to just have tracks like EOM beats, for example, and just listen and just the emotion of the beat will bring out some words and some melodies and stuff like that. So for me, the songwriting process is a lot different. I will say that my songwriting process has never been. It's always been very by myself. Like when I used to do songwriting sessions with other people, and especially when I was like had the record deal and like they wanted me to do hits and stuff like that, so they put me in with people who make hits. Like I realized during that time that I actually, like, for my own music, I kind of care. Like I feel like it has to come from like a real place, or I won't actually like it. And a lot of the stuff that I was trying to write with other people in the room, and then you start thinking like, well, what do they think? Do they think I suck? And you start to doubt yourself, and you start to think that your ideas are bad, or you don't even want to throw ideas out. I discovered through a pretty difficult process that for me, songwriting is kind of something that I do by myself, or with somebody like with Davey or my brother or EOM or like somebody that like I know and trust and have a relationship with, not just like some random dude, and then you got other people in the room. It's just like it's just not the same for me. It's it's songwriting and all that shit is different for everybody, and I have to do it kind of for my own music. It's kind of like a thing where I just go back and lock myself in a cave and come out when it's done, So, but I always write. I don't freestyle. To me, it's like you're not gonna say your best shit. That's cool if you want to freestyle, but like, I don't know. To me, you're not going to say your best shit if you're just freestyling, Freestyle could be cool to get, like, if you got kind of like a cool, like, flow, if you got like a cool rhythm and feel, and then kind of go back and put some dope words in it. But, everybody's different, man. I'm kind of, when it comes to rap, I care about words, what was I talking about earlier? Fucking Gucci slippers. I don't know. This one is from Nate the Plate from Michigan. Nate the Plate. Sup, Big Wax? You washed up wannabe music industry lowlife. Haha, just kidding. You're fucking cool. Hey, thanks. Anyways, I started smoking Cheyennes recently. If you're wondering what the fuck a Cheyenne is, it's basically just a cigarette-sized cigar that you can buy in packs of 20 for $2. Except the tobacco in it is, quote, natural, unquote, whatever that means. Yeah, I know. Dirt fucking cheap. Anyways, I wanted to know what your stance is on natural tobacco versus normal tobacco. I've smoked both, and natural tobacco is definitely my favorite. But yeah, I'm looking forward to your next studio effort, and I'm sure it'll be dope as fuck as always. Thank you, man. All right, enough ball licking. So I appreciate the praise first and foremost. Hopefully you're right about my next studio effort, and I appreciate you saying studio effort. Like that's a very like you probably are a music writer to use that term. Unfortunately, I do still smoke tobacco products, And I have a friend who smokes the natural tobacco, and I smoke what you refer to as normal tobacco, but I guess what I'll refer to as chemically altered corporate tobacco. You know, I smoke Marlboro cigarettes, Marlboro mediums. I've always have. They're not even called mediums anymore. It hasn't been called medium for years. It's called Red Label. But if you go to a store and ask for Marlboro mediums, they're going to give you Marlboro Red Label, you know. I don't like I don't know what it is. Maybe it's kind of like what I was talking about earlier with just trying all this organic food and maybe it not being hitting my stomach the right way. When I smoke the natural shit, it just doesn't taste right to me. It feels weird on my throat. It doesn't work for me. When I smoke the chemical laden corporate bullshit, it's just smooth as a baby's ass. You know what I mean? Whatever. I just enjoy I think there's something in the chemicals that they put in there, whatever it is, bleach, ammonia, peroxide, Ebola, whatever they put on there, I just like it. So that's my take on that. I will say that $2 is pretty damn cheap for a pack of cigarettes. Never heard of them, though. Never heard of Cheyennes. All right. Thank you, Nate the Plate from Michigan. This last one is from Big Sigh. What up, Wax? It's your boy, Big Sigh. That's S-Y. Coming at you from Colfax, Washington, population 3,000. A little over a year ago, my friend K-Mac wrote in, and you gave us a shout-out that made my day. Thanks again for that. To start, I just wanted to say that your podcast sucks ass as far as podcasts go. It's not the greatest, you are inconsistent, you say extremely offensive and fucked up shit, and sometimes you make no sense. But please don't change a thing. The overall shittiness of your podcast is what makes it great. I don't want to listen to scheduled segments or shit like that. Listening to you talk about random things is interesting and thought-provoking. Keep on being shitty. It's great. Praise warning. Damn. I appreciate that, man. I think this has probably been my worst podcast. Well, the question section wasn't that bad, but before that, it was probably one of my worst ones. But, you know, maybe it was actually one of my best ones, you know? Who knows? Praise warning. Anyways, I have been listening to your music. There's a lot of praise. It's a lot of praise. I don't want to read all the praise. I appreciate it, though. Anyway, serious question. My passion is filming and editing videos. I hate to brag or talk about myself, but I have to say I am a good cinematographer and excellent video editor. I am confident enough in my abilities that I want to start making a living from it. My plan is to start with event videos like weddings or anything like that, but ultimately I want to be making music videos. So as an artist, how do you go about finding someone to film and edit your first videos? Also, I'm curious what price ranges you have paid to have a video made. Honestly, any info you have about your experiences with cinematographers is greatly appreciated. Sorry for the long read. Keep it real. Big Sigh. When I first started to make actual music videos, I started by getting myself out there, and I just had like a shitty video camera, and I would film myself, or my brother would film me just like rapping in my car and stuff like that. And then the first time I started making real videos, it was actually somebody hit me up from Full Sail University in Orlando and hooked me up with some people that I'm still with, all my Intense Imagination folks. And I met my boy Jay, my boy AK, and my boy Casey, and since then we've made a lot of videos. And the first videos we made, there wasn't no money involved. Like nobody was getting paid. There was hardly any budget to make the video, if anything at all. You know, we might spend $100 just because we have to, and we had no money. So you know, the point is, with artistic shit like that, all your first projects you can't expect it to be something that you make money off of. I mean, maybe if you do weddings and shit like that, but even with that, I'd imagine you have to like get some practice under your belt before you can confidently give them a product, especially for a wedding. People are crazy, dude. If you don't do a good job at a wedding, the bride will flip out. But I imagine you got to get some practice under your belt before you can make money doing stuff like that. So if you've never made a music video before, I would recommend just try to make one with no money. You know, find somebody that makes music in your area. I know you're from a very small area, but Worry less about whether the music's good or whether it's gonna blow up or whether you're getting paid for it, and just practice, man. Work on lighting, work on fucking lighting, work on framing, work on editing, work on making storyboards, One of my best friends out here, AK, that I hang out with all the time, he's a cinematographer, and he's done like almost all my videos, and now he has like a 9-to-5 where he's a cinematographer 9-to-5, which is some shit you can do in Los Angeles. Which, by the way, is another good plan. Once you get good, be good to move out of Colfax, population 3,000. Yeah, but all in all, I try to say this to everybody that does art in any kind of way in this fucking everything right now world that we live in these days. Like, dude, you got to do the work. You gotta practice. You gotta get good. Like, you can't expect everything off the top. And I'm not addressing it in this way to you, Sigh. I'm just saying in general, like to anyone, whether you're rapping, whether you're making videos, whether you're painting, whether you're fucking playing basketball. Well, the thing is, playing sports is still on some shit where it's like, it's fucking obvious. It's in your fucking face. If you don't score any points and all your shots are blocked and you can't get past nobody, it's obvious you need to practice more. But for some reason with music and with art stuff, like, people think that like that just because they made a song, it's like, why isn't this blowing up? It's like, dude, it's your first song. Make a shitload more. You got to fail a lot of times and you got to feel the failure and get by the failure, and the failure is what makes some people not do it, and what makes some people get by and some people not, and you just can't. People be expecting that, like, that they're gonna start getting. I don't know. You know what the fuck I'm talking about. Anyway, Sigh, I wish you good luck with that, man. I haven't made a video in a long time, and I'm like jonesing to make one. It's like, making a music video can be some of the most fun shit you ever do. And when it all comes together, you actually feel a sense of pride at the end of the day. And when you make a great one, it's usually because you made a bunch of average ones beforehand. So just start making them, man. Just fucking go out there, get a camera, and start filming a motherfucker, be inspired by other ones, all that bullshit, all right. Well, yeah, that's the podcast, y'all. I will try to do one next week, but because I'm really focusing on music right now, and because it's not easy to get this podcast done all the time, I apologize if I ever skip weeks, y'all. I gotta make sure that I gotta really focus on the music. Maybe, you know what though? Maybe now that maybe when we have the studio, it would actually be easier to get the podcast done. Maybe when people come in, I can just I want to do a little bit more stuff with guests. I want to have guests on more often, not just sit here rambling to myself. Because I have a lot of interesting friends. And if I can remember to, maybe when people come through, I'll just throw the microphone on and we'll talk for 10 minutes to this person. And next time somebody comes through, throw the microphone and just mesh together some cool podcasts that way. I definitely want to keep this shit going for you guys that enjoy listening to it. And I know that the reason, there's like websites and shit where people give advice on people who want to make podcasts. And one of the most important thing you can do as a podcaster is have a day every week that your podcast comes out, preferably even at the same time, and people can always rely on your podcast being out there. And who knows, man? Maybe if I had actually done that for the past 2 years or however long I've been doing this podcast, if I had actually putting that shit out putting it out, if I had putting it out, if I had really done that, maybe my podcast would actually have more listeners than it does. Because it actually has less listeners now than it did a couple weeks in. And I definitely have, I feel like I could have expanded, if I had gotten good at this shit and made it done right every week, I think I could have expanded even to podcast listeners, not just wax fans. You know what I mean? Like, I could have maybe expanded the podcast into a world of like where regular people be listening to the podcast. You know what I mean? Not just people that listen to my music. But that definitely has not happened, and I understand why, because a lot of people are just not, you just give up on the motherfucker. You know what I mean? So I apologize for that. Nobody's perfect, and I am definitely not ever going to say that I am. All that bullshit being said, be safe out there.